Welcome back to the Aquarius training video series. In this video, we will go through the process of setting up data sets to compute a time series of daily mean discharge data and save it to a file. This procedure involves using several Aquarius tools like Location Manager, the Append tool, the Rating Development tool, the Export to File tool, and the Reporting tool. Please consult our other training resources, documentation, or your friendly Aquarius support team for more information on these tools, as this tutorial will not attempt to explain the details of using each one. For this example, let's pretend that I've already created my location in Springboard using Location Manager. I've highlighted it here, but if I click the Go to Datasets button, you'll see that I have not configured any datasets at this point. First thing I'm going to show you how to do is to create a rating curve object. I'll go to Location Manager for that. I'll switch to the Datasets tab, and then I'll choose the New button and choose the Rating Curve option here. It creates a new dataset item over here, and I have to fill out the fields on the right. First thing, I'll specify a label just so I can remember what this is, and I'll specify the input and output parameters. For a usual stage discharge curve, your input will be stage, and let's use meters, and the output parameter, I'll search for the discharge, put that in, and let's leave it in cubic meters per second. Let's save and exit from the Location Manager, and there's my rating curve object in the location. So let's put in my rating equation. I'll select that rating, open the Rating Development tool, and for the purposes of this example, let's pretend that I already know what the rating equation I want to use for my curve is. Maybe under normal circumstances you would develop that curve empirically using your measurement data, but just for brevity here, I'm going to just put the equation in directly. Please consult our other training materials on the Rating Development toolbox for more information on the options that this tool gives you. I'm going to go to the Setup menu, choose Rating, and I'm going to change it to just a descriptive equation, and we'll set an approval level on it. Apply that. It'll ask me if I want to overwrite the rating I've already got. That's fine, there's nothing there. And finally, I'll paste in the equation that I know works for this site. Hit the play button, and that looks about the way I was expecting. I'll set a rating period for my rating curve. That's very important, or Aquarius won't be able to use it to compute discharge data. Go to my Rating Period Manager tab, double click that first rating period, and for this example I'm going to be using this curve I put in for all of 2014 calendar year, and I'll specify an approval level, apply that, and that should do it. I'll save and exit from the Rating Development toolbox. And now I'll refresh my datasets list, and notice that there's no little exclamation mark on my rating curve icon. If you do have an exclamation mark there, that probably means that you've forgotten to specify the rating period. So make sure you do that, it's very important. At this point we have my rating model saved in the Aquarius server. If I want to calculate discharge from it, first I have to add some water level data. Let's do that now. I'm going to go into Location Manager, go to the Datasets tab, and select New, Time Series Basic. Again, I'll set a brief label here to remind me what this data set is. This is water level collected by my data logger. I'll set the parameter to stage, leave the units as meters, set the time zone to something else if needed. And because the data that I'm going to be appending into this data set was collected every 5 minutes by the data logger, I'll enter a gap tolerance of 5 minutes. Please consult the Aquarius manual for more information on the concept of gap tolerance. Now that I've defined my stage time series settings, I'll save out of Location Manager, and you'll see here in my datasets list I now have this second dataset. This is where I'm going to add my water level data into. To add data to a dataset like this, we'll use the Append Logger tool. First thing the Append Logger tool wants you to do is specify the name of the text file that you'd like to load into your server. Let's choose this one here. And if I have a look at that, you'll see it's simply a file that has my my date and time and then the recorded stage value, and that's it. This is the data that I'm going to load into AQUARIUS server. This file, let's imagine I obtained from the data logger at the monitoring site by downloading it with my laptop computer. Let's close that. I'm not going to go through all the details of how to configure and append. I'm just going to use a config file that I've already prepared in advance and load the data from my CSV file. It found that one column of stage data, 103,000 points about, for the whole year of 2014. That's what was in that file, so that's good. And we're going to take all that data and we're going to add it to that stage.logger time series that we created just a moment ago. Remember this one here. So I'll select that and we'll append that data. This actually takes the data from that CSV file and saves it into that data set on the AQUARIUS server. So now the data actually has been added to our database. Let's close the Append Logger tool. Let's hit the refresh button and we can see that my data set now goes from 2014 January all the way to the end of the year. And if I select that data set and choose the data correction tool, we'll see that data appears to have come in successfully. All the 5-minute values have been loaded. Let's close out of the data correction toolbox, come back to Springboard here, and now let's set up a discharge time series that uses my rating curve that I created earlier to calculate discharge from the data in this data set here. We'll go to Location Manager to set that up. We'll go to the Datasets tab again. We'll choose the New button again, and this time we're going to choose Time Series Rating Curve Derived, because we're deriving or calculating this data using a rating curve. Again, like every data set, we just put in a label that describes what it is, just so we can remember it. I'll call this Calculated. And we're going to now specify how this data set is going to calculate itself. It's going to use this rating curve. I only have the one. And we're going to use this water level time series as input. Because my input is 5-minute data and has a gap tolerance of 5 minutes, I'll define the same thing for my discharge time series. Again, see the AQUARIUS manual for more information on the concept of gap tolerance. Now that I've defined my discharge time series settings, let's save that data set. And there it is in my list. Now if I go to view that one in data correction, you will see that AQUARIUS server has already calculated a discharge values for each one of the stage values in the input. You'll see I now have a time series of 5-minute discharge data. Okay, let's quit out of data correction, get back to Springboard, and now let's say that for reporting purposes, I'm supposed to submit a file with one value, a mean value for each day. So a mean discharge for each day, and I guess a mean water level for the day as well. Let's show how to use AQUARIUS to come up with that time series of daily values. We'll calculate them from this time series that we just looked at. We'll go to the Location Manager, go to the Datasets tab again, and I'll choose New, and this time I'll choose Statistical Derived Time Series, this one here. Again, we'll put in a label to remind me what this is. I'm going to call this Daily Means, and we're going to tell this dataset to calculate from our 5-minute discharge data. We're going to tell it to calculate the aggregate, or in this case it really means the mean value for each day. I could choose other periods, but I want a mean value for every day. And for that value it computes for the day, put it at the very start of the day at 12 midnight. So this is to say that the value that you're going to see in the output for midnight on January 16th will be the mean value for January 16th. If I chose the add end option, the value in the time series for January 16th would represent the mean value of all the points recorded on the 15th. You have two options there. Again, see the manual for more details on that option and this idea of data coverage, which I won't specify this time. Okay, now that I've got my data set configured, let's just save and exit out of the Location Manager. And now I have a fourth data set in my location, which if I open up in Data Correction, you'll see that it has calculated one value for each day based on the 5-minute data points in the input time series. If I go to my time series grid, you can see that quite clearly. I have one value per day. Let's close out of the data correction tool. Now that we have a daily mean discharge data set, let's go set up the same thing for our water level. Again, I go back to Location Manager, Datasets tab, New, Statistical Derived Time Series. This one will also be calculated. This time I'm going to calculate from the water level time series. And we're going to calculate again a daily mean value at the start of the day. We'll save and exit. And now I have a time series of daily values for the water level as well. Let's now see how to take those daily mean, stage, and discharge data that we just calculated using AQUARIUS Server and export them to a text file. I'll select both data sets by selecting the first one, and then holding down the Control key on my keyboard and selecting the second data set. Now they're both highlighted in this order, 1 and 2, as you see. Let's go to the Export Time Series tool. And here we can tell it to export only part of the time range that's in those data sets, but here in our case we're going to export the whole thing. If I choose the Export to Chart button, you'll see that I can have just a quick visualization of what those time series look like. If I go back to the Export Results tab, I can hit this Save CSV File button and save my data to a file. Let's save it to this CSV file here. We'll replace the one I did earlier. And let's also save the chart image too. And if we close the export time series, and I go over to my desktop and open the file that I just produced, I see that I have a file with 1 line per day, and there's my daily mean water level, and there is my daily mean discharge. These columns here are things like the grade and approval level and interpolation type. This file could be loaded into Excel for further analysis or formatting. Alternately, I may wish to use the AQUARIUS reporting tool to produce an output file. Let's close this one, and this time let's just select the discharge calculated time series. Recall this is my data set that has a point every 5 minutes, and with that selected, let's load the report tool. At the top here, let's choose the daily mean by year report template, and let's tell it to run for the entire range of the data set, compute total discharge in acre feet, and give it a title. Hit the preview button, and you can see this report template goes in. It also calculates a daily mean value, but it arranges the results in a table like this with my total volume in acre feet down here below. It actually reports on a water year from October to October by default. And that's just one report template that you could run. Alternately, you may wish to choose the USGS primary report, for instance. If I run that on the entire range, hit the preview button, you'll see that it's gone ahead and produced an hourly mean value for each day of the year and printed it out in this summary form. It's quite a long report with one section per day. And these are the hourly mean values for the day. Let's close that one and the report toolbox and return to Springboard. I hope this video has been instructive, and if you have any further questions about any of the steps that we took here, or any other details about the toolboxes that we used, please consult the AQUARIUS manual or our other training videos and documentation, or at any time contact your friendly AQUARIUS support team for further assistance. Thank you.